Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. It was supposed to be an ordinary evening, quiet, familiar. The scent of lavender still lingered in the air from the bath she had just taken, warm mist curling up around the corners of the dimly lit bathroom. The only sound was the soft drip of water from the faucet. Anna bent over to pick up the towel she had dropped, her skin still dewy, her mind preoccupied with the dinner she hadn't finished, the conversation she and her husband never really started. And then, she felt it. A hand. Firm, deliberate. Her breath caught. Not because she was startled by the touch, but because it had been so long since she felt anything from him that wasn't routine. She froze for a moment, towel clenched in her fingers, heart racing for all the wrong reasons. Liam used to touch her like that with meaning, back when their silences were comfortable, not heavy. Back when a look from him would make her knees weak, not her resolve. But lately, their home had turned into a theater of politeness and passing smiles. Words were exchanged like business transactions, and intimacy had taken a back seat to schedules, obligations, and quiet resentment. He stood behind her now, shirtless, shadows playing across his face from the bathroom light. His expression unreadable, but his presence suddenly, electric. She dared not turn around. 1,000 unspoken questions choked the air between them. Was this guilt? Desire? Or a goodbye dressed in one last caress? Earlier that day, she had found a lipstick mark on his shirt collar. Faint. Almost innocent. But not hers. Her stomach had dropped when she saw it, yet she hadn't confronted him. Not directly. She'd hoped, foolishly, that maybe he'd offer an explanation. Or even a lie. Anything but the silence that followed. He hadn't noticed her eyes lingering on the collar. He hadn't noticed much at all lately. Not how her laughter had become forced. Not how she'd started sleeping on the very edge of the bed. Not how her eyes welled up quietly each time he left for a late meeting. And now, here he was. His hand resting gently, yet intently, on the small of her back. A gesture that once made her feel safe, now made her question everything. She straightened slowly, letting the towel fall, unsure if she was trembling from his touch or from the wall of emotion threatening to collapse inside her. She turned to face him. And just as their eyes met, her phone buzzed on the counter. One word. One name. Callum. Her pulse spiked. Liam's eyes shifted toward the screen. The room was no longer warm. Anna's eyes darted from Liam's face to the glowing phone screen, Callum. The name lingered in the air like perfume she couldn't wash off. Liam's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Just enough to make her heart pound louder. He didn't ask. He didn't need to. The unspoken accusation settled between them like a fog. But he didn't remove his hand. "I thought you said you turned your phone off," he said quietly, his voice low, but not cold. "Not yet." "I forgot," she replied, just as softly. Liam stepped back then, the space between their bodies growing wider than the room itself. Anna turned slowly, gripping the towel tighter now, more like a shield than something to dry herself with. Her chest ached, not with guilt, but with the weight of everything they hadn't said in months. They used to tell each other everything. They used to laugh in the kitchen until their stomachs hurt. Make love with the lights on. Talk about dreams, not just bills. But then, things changed. When Liam got the promotion, he started coming home late, his eyes tired, his phone always buzzing. He'd kiss her cheek instead of her lips. "Just tired," he'd say. And she believed it. Until she couldn't. Callum was someone she'd met at her sister's wedding. Just a friend. A harmless text here and there. Someone who asked how her day was, someone who noticed. Liam ran a hand through his hair, the gesture almost vulnerable. "Is there something I should know?" he asked, finally. Anna met his eyes. They weren't angry. Just distant. Like he was already preparing to let go. It scared her more than a raised voice ever could. "Are you asking because you care?" she whispered, or because you need a reason to stop pretending? Liam didn't answer. Instead, he picked up the towel she'd dropped earlier and handed it to her. Their fingers brushed. And for the briefest second, the old heat was still there. I don't know how we got here, he said, almost to himself. Neither did she. But as she wrapped the towel around herself, shielding her body from the man who used to know every inch of it, she wondered the same thing. The silence hung like a veil between them, neither one brave enough to lift it. Anna stood still, towels snug around her frame, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. Liam leaned against the marble counter, arms crossed, not in defiance, but like a man guarding a door he wasn't sure he wanted to keep closed. Outside the bathroom, the soft clatter of rain began to patter against the window panes, like the world was listening in. I saw your shirt, Anna said quietly, her voice trembling, but steady. The collar. Lipstick. Liam didn't move. His eyes didn't flinch. Instead, he exhaled, slow and deep, as if he'd been waiting for her to bring it up. It wasn't what it looked like. Anna offered a half smile, sad, weary. It never is it? Their eyes met again. A quiet war of emotions playing out in glances too heavy to carry for long. Liam stepped forward, just slightly. Enough to invade her space again. Close, but not close enough to touch. I never touched her, he said, almost pleading. It was a client's wife, she leaned in. I didn't, it wasn't anything. Anna searched his face. She wanted to believe him. She almost did. But it wasn't just the lipstick. It was the way he no longer looked at her when she spoke. The way he turned his phone face down at dinner. The late meetings. The way he kissed her like a habit, not a hunger. She wasn't innocent either. She hadn't told Liam about the coffee with Callum last week. Or how she sometimes reread his messages at night when Liam fell asleep early with his back turned to her. She hadn't cheated, not in the way people understand it. But emotionally? There were cracks in the vows. You stopped noticing me, she whispered. Before Callum. Before the lipstick. Liam's mouth opened, then shut again. He looked away. I know, he admitted finally. But I've been trying to fix things. Work's been insane. I thought if I could just. It's not about work, she cut in, her voice firmer now. It's about feeling alone while sharing the same bed. It's about not knowing if the man I married even wants me anymore. The lights flickered slightly from the storm outside, as if echoing her uncertainty. A beat passed. Then, Liam stepped closer. This time, his hand grazed hers, gentle, unsure. I want us back, he murmured. Before Anna could respond, her phone buzzed again. Another message. From Callum, I meant every word I said. You deserve to feel wanted. Liam saw the name again. He pulled back, eyes dark with something unreadable. And the rain outside turned into a downpour. Anna didn't move. The second message from Callum was still glowing on the counter, casting a quiet light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat between them. Liam took a slow breath, his face unreadable, though his eyes betrayed something raw, something trembling between rage, regret, and heartbreak. I never asked for any of this, Anna said, her voice catching in her throat. I didn't want to need someone else to remind me I was, still wanted. The towel clung to her body, damp now with something more than steam. Her chest rose and fell rapidly as she tried to keep from unraveling. She wasn't trying to hurt him, this wasn't revenge. This was desperation bleeding out after being bottled for too long. Liam stepped toward her, his movements slow, almost cautious, as if touching her now might cause both of them to fall apart. His hand hovered near her cheek but didn't land. You still are, he whispered. God, Anna. You always have been. She blinked, tears burning in her eyes. Then why didn't you show me? His hand fell away. I didn't know how to keep up, he admitted. With work, with life. I thought if I kept everything moving, I wouldn't lose you. I didn't realize I was losing you because of it. A storm raged behind his voice now, though it never turned cruel. Just a quiet implosion of guilt. Anna pressed her lips together, the ache in her chest impossible to ignore. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to reach out, let her fingers memorize his jaw again, the same way they used to when they couldn't get enough of each other. When words weren't needed because their bodies said everything. But something in her hesitated. What if we're too far gone? She asked, barely audible. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Liam closed the last inch of space between them, his forehead resting against hers, breath shallow and trembling. Their skin didn't touch elsewhere, but the nearness was unbearable. I still remember the way you tasted the night we moved in, he said, voice hoarse. I remember how you looked at me like I was the only thing in the world. I want that back. I want you back. Her tears fell freely now. But she still hadn't made her choice. Their foreheads still touched, breathing in each other's silence, close enough to feel everything, far enough to fear it. Anna's fingers hovered just shy of his chest, trembling with the weight of the years between the first, I love you, and this moment that might become their last. But then, a knock. Sharp. Unexpected. Both their heads turned toward the sound. Another knock, firmer this time. At the front door. They froze. Liam's brow furrowed. Who the hell? Anna stepped back instinctively, gripping the towel tighter. Her heart thudded painfully in her chest. No one was supposed to be here. Not this late. Not during a storm. Liam moved past her, grabbing a shirt off the nearby chair. Stay here. But she didn't. She followed, barefoot, silent, each step echoing with dread. As Liam opened the door, the storm raged louder outside, wind howling through the hallway. And there he was. Callum. Drenched from the rain. Hair slicked back. Shirt clinging to his chest. I'm sorry, he said, voice low and strained. I shouldn't have come but I had to see you. Liam stood frozen, his body blocking the doorway but his mind clearly racing to keep up. Who is this? He asked without turning to Anna. Callum looked past him. Straight at her. His eyes didn't waver. She didn't tell you, did she? Liam turned then. Slowly. Anna's stomach twisted. Her lips parted to speak, but the words never came. Callum stepped closer. She didn't cheat. Not with her body. But she told me things. Deep things. You were never supposed to hear them. Callum, stop, Anna finally whispered, her voice shaking. But it was too late. Liam's expression cracked, just slightly. Enough for her to see the fracture. Did you love him? He asked, barely above a whisper. Anna's breath caught. No, she said, but even she could hear the hesitation. The doubt. I don't know. And there it was, the second betrayal. Not an affair. Not even a kiss. But something deeper. Emotional intimacy. Callum looked wounded but proud. I just wanted you to know what she means to someone. Then he turned, walked into the rain, and disappeared into the dark. Anna stood in the hallway, wet hair clinging to her skin, tears mingling with the storm's chill. Liam didn't move. He just stared at the empty doorway. And the silence between them was louder than any thunder. The door shut with a thud that seemed to shake the walls. The echo lingered like the storm still howling outside. Anna stood still, chest rising and falling rapidly, as if the weight of everything, Callum's words, Liam's silence, the past year of quiet decay, was crushing her. Liam leaned against the door, his eyes closed, fists clenched. I should have fought for you sooner, he said at last, his voice hollow. But you let someone else in first. Anna stepped closer. I didn't let him in to hurt you. I let him in because I thought you were already gone. Liam turned, his face raw, stripped of pride. Do you love him? No, she didn't flinch this time. But for a while, I wished I did. It would have made leaving easier. He stared at her, searching. Hoping. Fearing. I wanted to feel seen, she said, her voice cracking. And now? I just want to feel something that's real again. Silence. Then Liam crossed the room and took her face gently in his hands. His touch was trembling, desperate, not from lust, but from every memory they'd built and nearly destroyed. Their eyes locked. He kissed her. Not hungry. Not rushed. But deeply, like a man who remembered everything he'd almost forgotten. It was the kiss of a promise. Of reckoning. Of two people still standing after the storm. Anna melted into it. And just when it felt like the story had finally closed its wounds, the final twist unraveled. Her phone buzzed one last time. They pulled apart. On the screen, a message flashed, "It's not over." See. Liam's brow furrowed. Callum? Anna stared at the screen, color draining from her face. No, she whispered. Not Callum. Liam looked at her, confused. She swallowed hard. Christian. My ex. He's back. And he never stopped looking for me. Thunder cracked outside. And in that moment, the storm inside her wasn't over. It had just changed direction. The storm had passed. The rain no longer beat against the windows, but its scent lingered, fresh, raw, cleansing. In the calm that followed, Anna sat on the edge of the bed, wrapped now in silence more than cotton. Liam stood across the room, not distant anymore, but still not quite near. The message from Christian had shaken something in her. A memory. A version of herself she'd worked hard to forget. She handed Liam the phone. He was toxic. Controlling. When I left, I blocked every number, changed my life. Callum was a distraction, but Christian, he was my past trying to survive inside me. Liam studied the message, then set the phone face down. Do you still fear him? He asked. No, she said after a pause. But I fear who I used to be with him. Who I became, hiding from the pain. Liam nodded, walking over. You're not that woman anymore. And you're not the man who stopped seeing me. They sat in silence, this time not out of avoidance, but because they finally could. Every wound had been exposed. Every truth, even the ugliest, had aired. And in that raw space, something beautiful survived, clarity. I don't know what happens next, Anna admitted. I don't even know if we're okay. Liam reached for her hand, lacing his fingers with hers. But we're not done. She smiled faintly. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't certainty. But it was something. Later, she watched the sunrise filter through the window, golden light falling on a new day. Her phone buzzed once more, this time from her sister, not Christian. Just a photo of their parents on their anniversary, holding hands, still laughing. Anna stared at it, moved. Not because it was perfect. But because they'd stayed. Love wasn't flawless. It stumbled. It cracked. Sometimes it forgot how to speak. But if two people chose each other again, after everything, maybe that was what made it real. She turned to Liam, sleeping beside her now, his arms slightly draped over her. And she thought, maybe this isn't a happy ending. Maybe it's a true one.